Okay, hello everyone, welcome to another Philfak Academy presentation, the Philological Faculty Academy here. And today we're going to be talking about guilt by association. If that person's guilty of something bad and you're next to that person, then the implication is that you're bad as well. As we say in English, birds of a feather flock together. And so if you're associated with something that's negative, then you might get tarred with the same brush. So today, things have obviously gotten worse in what's happening in Ukraine, and I've been quite jolly and happy because coming from Australia, lots of vitamin D in my childhood, and just generally trying to be positive. But obviously, I think I'll try and adopt a more somber tone in this video, less wry if you like. I'm definitely not going to be calling Antipodean sheepshaggers in this video today. And what I'd like to do, because people are getting emotional, people who are connected with this story, obviously people in Ukraine suffering, people in Russia are suffering, Europeans are scared, and they're right to be scared. It's a horrible situation. So I thought what I'd do is I'd start with something that is like really academic, technical, boring, official, just to try and set the academic context for today's video. So this is a little bit old, but I just saw the picture and I thought it's a good place to start. UN Security Council, so an institute, very official, fails to adopt a resolution. So it isn't anything negative like China blocks peace resolution. The Security Council should help diffuse the crisis. So that's an interesting word there, help diffuse the crisis. So fuse is on a bomb, it's going to blow up, and so you want to diffuse that so that bomb doesn't blow up. It's very positive, it's looking towards peace. And I think that's a wonderful tone to set for today's video, because one of the aims of the Philfak Academy is to drive people's minds towards peace, to get love in their hearts and try and lessen some of the negativity that is particularly around something as horrible as war. So let's have a look at our first newspaper. Now we will have a look, this is the New York Times, we will have a look at the language, but today's video is more about, as I mentioned, guilt by association, birds of a feather flock together, tarred with the same brush. And something, I don't have any statistics about this, it's something I noticed quite a few years ago, that you can have a main topic on the front page, and then there'll be some sort of leading away from that main topic down towards the bottom of the front page or the bottom right. And so we're starting with the New York Times again to try and keep things as less emotional as possible. A very quick look at the picture. You can see there it's a woman standing in a church. It's in the Ukraine, trying to keep calm. There are no dead bodies. There are no bombs. Backlash against Russia grows. It's a very passive headline. Backlash against Russian aggression. Backlash against Russian invasion. Abominable Russian invasion. You could put any adjective you want in this headline, but there's nothing there. It's just it's backlash is negative. It's obviously public backlash or world backlash. And then EU to ban Russian flights as battles rage across Ukraine. So battles rage is quite emotional, but again, there's no actor. Like, EU is banning Russian flights and battles rage. So it's kind of like the battles themselves are doing stuff. It's very easy to say that this group of soldiers or this military is killing these other people. And if you really wanted to get emotions going, you'd obviously talk about killing civilians, which we might see a little bit later. Not pictures, but just words. So my question for you is, down the bottom right, New York Times, who do you think? I think I should have blurred that picture a bit more. Okay, so you're creating, there is negativity there. There's some positivity. Look at this. Ukraine agrees to talks with Russia. Ukraine agrees to talks with Russia. Like, the New York Times has become very academic. Like, why am I surprised? It is a broadsheet newspaper. It's for intelligent, left-leaning, liberal type people. But just the Trump years, the New York Times was not intelligent during the Trump years in this way. So it's kind of weird for me anyway. The question is, this kind of negativity down the bottom right corner, who is it? Let's have a look. And the negativity is connected with what I was just talking about, Donald Trump. So let's zoom in there. And so there it is. That one below it, how the American right stopped worrying and learned to love Russia. So there's been so much negativity created with Russia. So much negativity connected with Putin. Before that, Donald Trump, just amazing. And there are the two of them together having a very cordial, amicable conversation. They're the best of friends. And the target of negativity, guilt by association, isn't Donald Trump, the American right. And so this is what you might see in newspapers. Pay attention to it. If you keep looking at front pages, always have a look down the bottom right of that front page, just to see if there's some sort of steering that negativity. Why is it often in the bottom right? I think it's often, that's not a statistical fact by any means, but double check yourself. It's quite interesting. I think it's because we naturally look top, left, middle, right? I think now most of the time the picture's in the middle. So we tend to zoom in on the middle and then have a look at the words around it, maybe under it, maybe over it, and then work our way down to the bottom. And so we would take that negative with us. As human beings, unless we're successful business people, we're not very good at detaching ourselves from emotions that we've been, we've been experiencing really in the last few seconds. When you have that negativity created, that feeling of sadness, it's coming down there. How the American right. So in the New York Times, we see a connection between all of the negativity around Putin and Russia with the American right. Now, for those of you who watched previous Philfak videos on this topic, you'll know that the New York Times, out of the BBC, the New York Times and the Guardian, the New York Times has generally been the one that's less emotional. Still emotional, obviously it's war, but it's been less emotional. And so we would expect here the BBC to be a little bit more emotional. But the main picture there is the sun rising, which is very symbolic for the human being. That's a wonderful sign. Can you see any smoke? There's absolutely no smoke at all. And look at the headline. It's actually very, very positive. Ukraine, Kiev curfew lifts. So the lift of the curfew, the sun rising. It's a new dawn. It's a new era of hope and positivity for all of us. However, of course, there is negative news around it. We can see here there's a woman crying, and that's quite negative. Refugee tearfully describes why she fled Ukraine. So she could flee Russian aggression in the Ukraine, but she just fled the Ukraine. So we can see here the BBC is taking what you might describe as a fairly passive stance given the situation. There's a woman there, and she's only got a cardboard gun, and a question, should the West arm Ukrainian resistance? That's a good example of the picture giving you the answer before you can even think about what the answer should be. So a little bit of manipulation there in that article. And then the Russian flag. So not a lot of negativity, but definite negativity, the Russian flag. And then who is it connected with? Is it connected with Donald Trump? Is it connected with the American right? No. Who is it? Have a guess, and let's have a look. It's a Russian-Israeli oligarch called Abramovich, who owns a football club called Chelsea in London, or used to own. The choice of this picture is just remarkable. If you have a look, Putin looking, I don't know, is he sad? Is he anxious? Is he grim? Is he somber, like my mood for today's video, somber? A woman in great distress. She's in great distress. And then a grandmother looking to learn how to use a machine gun. And then underneath that, you've got guilt by association. An oligarch smiling. So probably not a picture that he would want to, or his PR representative would want to see in the picture in the newspaper there. So as you might expect, the Guardian, more emotional pictures. The first one that pops up is a man with a machine gun. This is, full-on ready machine gun. Then the next picture with the same title, you can see there, Russia-Ukraine war, latest news. Ruble crashes as markets open. I don't know, ruble plunges, ruble crashes. What's worse in your opinion? It plunges or it crashes? But US condemns Putin's nuclear deterrence. US condemns. Yeah. Back to the BBC, what was it there? Putin puts Russian nuclear forces on special alert. So completely different, same story, different style. A lot more emotional. You got bombed out buildings, day 5 of Russia invasion, lots of negativity. And I didn't block it out here, but again, we've got some Russian oligarchs. But this one here, it's interesting. Birds of a feather flock together. But this one, they're speaking out. Yep. 2 top billionaires speak out against war. So that's quite taking a stance, speaking out against something that's wrong. And so I think these guys, public relations officers, will be quite happy with when it comes to public relations in the West, and will be quite happy. English-speaking West will be quite. Oh, that's just English-speaking West. Yeah, that makes sense. They'll be quite happy to see the pictures. I mean, the guy on the right, he might kind of think, why couldn't they choose a picture that's a little bit more complimentary of who I am and how I look? He's speaking into a microphone, but I got the feeling that he's running late for a bus or something like that. Okay, so here we've got association, but it's a positive association. It's quite interesting. So, okay, the Sydney Morning Herald front page, and this is where you really have to ask yourself the question, like, why do you read the news? Why do people read the news? If you open up the Sydney Morning Herald, if you'd open it up the other day, you'd see horrible things happening in the Ukraine. You open it up today, you see horrible things happening in Australia. Trapped Lismore residents screaming for help. Okay, here it is, the world section of the Sydney Morning Herald. Straight away you can see, much more negativity. Where there's smoke, there's fire. The clouds from the fire, the smoke from the fire is just billowing up into a very grey and abysmal sky. Underneath that, world on edge. So the same story about Russia's nuclear alert status, but a completely different way of putting it. Like, world on edge is puts nuclear forces on alert, and then underneath that it starts talking about dead civilians and dead children. I'm not going to read that because that's just going to be, it's really going for the reptilian one. It's creating a sense of massive panic in you. It's talking about people being killed. So it continues here. Ukraine capital Kiev under siege. Russia bombards. So the Sydney Morning Herald has really been using a lot of evocative language. So if you're looking to pick up some evocative expressions, the Sydney Morning Herald is probably the best one. It is better than the Guardian in this regard. I'll be scared later, and they are killing people. Quite a simple sentence. They are killing people. It will never be forgiven. So you compare that "it will never be forgiven" to the symbolic picture of the rising sun in the BBC. Very different feelings being created. So lots of negativity here. Sydney Morning Herald, we saw that in the New York Times, it was people on the right, Donald Trump. In the BBC, the negativity was connected with Abramovich, a Russian oligarch in London. What about the Sydney Morning Herald? Who do you think you're going to see there? You've probably guessed it, the president of China. Again, just like with the picture of Donald Trump and Putin, they're together, they're smiling amicably, they're obviously friends, they have a warm relationship with each other. Putin meeting throws China into Ukraine conflict. So this is the Sydney Morning Herald throwing China into the Ukraine conflict, throwing China into all of that negativity around. Okay, so we'll finish up with that fairly passive picture that we started with, and hopefully after today, you'll have a look at the positioning, not just like what kind of feelings are being created, or whether or not it's targeting the intelligent part, the emotional heart, or the reptilian mind. But you also start to think about how negativity can be directed in particular directions. I don't know if that's a bit of tautology there, directed in different directions. Man, when I speak, I don't care if I say something like that because it's going up on YouTube. I just feel damn. Okay, and obviously this is a little bit dangerous because if you start doing this, then you're going to start thinking why. Because you might start feeling that, there's a manipulation going on of people. And I think if you guess that there was deliberate manipulation of people, then you're probably correct. In fact, in English, it's quite straightforward. We say the battle for the hearts and minds in a psychological warfare. But I really like what one of my ex-colleagues says, really great guy, an English guy. He said, ignorance is our enemy. Our enemy is ignorance. And so hopefully, I'm not saying you're ignorant. I'm not saying, I'm trying to be positive. You're not ignorant, don't worry. Yeah? You are unaware. You might have been unaware of this possibility. I'm not going to say it's a fact, this possibility. And then hopefully it'll be another tool in your toolkit, not a weapon in your arsenal. Hopefully it'll be another tool in your toolkit. Thank you very much for joining us here at the Philfak Academy. I hope you have a great day. Look forward to seeing you in the next one.